Hey there, indie publishing nonfiction author. All right, this is your overview video for how I approach working with indie publishing authors and some things that you can think about when it comes to how you want to work with an editor and track your resources and your citations. And not even, you might not be working with an editor, your publisher might have their own editors that you're working with, but this is designed to help make the next person in line's job easier, right? That's always how I approach things, is what's the end game and how can I make the next person's job easier? And that might be, the next person might be the reader, but most of the time the next person is a literary agent or a publisher. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the distinction that I'm making between a self-publishing author and an indie publishing author. I'm making a distinction because you could break it into traditionally publishing authors and anyone else is a self-publishing author. There's an argument to be made for that. I want to draw a middle ground and say indie author, and what I'm referring to is an author who is working with a publishing company that exercises editorial discretion. So you're a self-publishing author if you are going to do all the project management, you're taking on all the financial risk, all of the liability, the legal type of risk, and this is just all on you. You might still be working with a company that publishes your book, but they are not going to take responsibility for the editing and those types of things. So if you have questions about that, you can ask me more about that, but again, exercising editorial discretion, meaning that they will only take certain types of manuscripts, and their expectation for the level of professionalism and the craft involved in writing the book is, there's a bar there. Now, I would argue that most, in my experience, have some kind of a style guide. And that's part of their branding, that they want to make sure that any book that they produce, that represents their publishing company, and so they want it to be locked into a certain standard. Different publishers have different style guides. So now, from an editor's perspective, sometimes I do work with clients who are indie publishing, but I'm doing the editing, and sometimes the indie publisher has their own editors that authors need to work with. So, different ones do things differently. Now, for when I work with authors on kind of the outside, when I am not part of the publishing company, I will ask the author, do you know, has your publisher given you a style guide and what their expectation is regarding citations? And often they might not know the answer, or they might say, no, I don't have anything. They've just asked for this, 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 and this. And so we have to do a little bit of deciding how deep we're going to go. Now, my background is risk management, and I always want to make sure that I would rather go beyond what's required and make sure that I'm honoring the reader and making their reading experience the best it can be, and also being respectful of the work of others. In the overview video, I'm assuming that you've watched that. If not, I highly recommend that you watch that, because I'm going to point you to resources on the legal side of things. And I'm assuming here that I'm not talking about the legal side of things. I'm not an attorney, but that needs to be locked down beforehand. So I'm just talking about it from out of the ethical kind of respect position, not the legal position here. So I will recommend to an author and say, okay, if we don't know what your publisher's style guidelines are, and if they're not willing to release that information to me, an outside editor, which I totally understand and respect because that's proprietary information, then hey, let's just give them as much as we can, and then they can choose what they're going to use and what they're not going to use. So again, approaching it from the thought of, I'm trying to be a partner in this in this project. And if the author and I can work together to make it easier for the next editor in line or the interior layout person, fabulous. All right, so I have created this spreadsheet to help with that. So those are just some things you need to consider. So if you are going to work with an outside editor, either after your manuscript has been selected and approved to continue on in the publishing process through an indie publisher, or if you plan to indie publish just for whatever reasons and you're having the editing piece done before you submit to those publishers, then we will just talk and decide, okay, what do we do? But you're welcome to use the tracking spreadsheet to help you along the way. It's much easier if you do that from the very beginning. But if you have questions about working with an indie publisher and what the different expectations may be, please let me know. I'm happy to answer those questions. And I do think it's valuable to watch the video I've done for those who aspire to be traditionally published and the video that I've done for self-publishing authors to be kind of a bookend and help you frame your mind of things that you might want to think about that might apply to you from each of those. So if you have questions, let me know. I look forward to hearing from you.